Hello, fellow Americans. Voice of Reason coming at you from Jacksonville, Florida. And very interesting article yesterday by Max Labo on his site titled United Nations Soldiers Says They Will Soon Occupy America and they'll be going door to door, taking our guns or shooting to kill. Interesting. So before I get to that, as I was preparing this post and getting the video ready and whatnot, I couldn't help but think, 25 days from now, we go to the polls and literally determine the fate of this country because of all the decisions that will be made by the next president. You know, will we live to fight another day? Because it sure as hell ain't going to be easy. I mean, we still have the coming global reset, financially. Or are we going to be, well on our way towards the ash bins of history, just like every other failed socialist redistributive state, that's ever come and gone? Which is it going to be? I don't know. I guess we're going to have to wait and find out. But there's been a lot of news about the UN and their activity here. And I've covered a tremendous amount of it. And the posts have been incredibly popular because there's a lot of information out there that people just aren't getting. So included in the post that there will be a link to in the YouTube section in the notes, there will be links to somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 pages worth of documents. I'm not going to count them all, but there's a lot of government official documents that lay out exactly what their plans are. And, I'm not talking about, goofy stuff that's downloaded from, who knows where. I'm talking about stuff that's documents that are downloaded directly from the White House, Congress, the U.S. Army, the United Nations, the U.S. Federal Code that lay out everything that's permissible or that's already taking place. And I assure you, UN soldiers have been here for quite some time, both training with our soldiers and here in a policing capacity. We'll get to that. So this soldier was allegedly from Norway. And apparently he fought side by side with some Americans, presumably maybe in some NATO thing or something to that effect. The article doesn't really go into any detail there. And he says he basically feels compelled that he has to tell somebody what's going on, and because he's going to be coming back here in 3 or 4 months as one of the people from Norway that'll be coming here. And that's where he makes the quote that they're going to be going door to door, collecting guns or shooting to kill. And that's always been the presumption anyway. We knew that Americans would never give up their guns, and we don't think our military would turn on us. So they'd have to involve foreign troops, right? So that's not really any great shock if they were to do it, I'm saying. Likewise goes with, he says that they already have a list of all the names and addresses of the people that they need to go after. And, that's in keeping with what we've already known about Maine Corps. I don't know how many of you read about that, but it's an alleged list of about 8 million people that, upon declaring martial law, that they're the ones that need to get swiped up quick. So they don't have time to cause any trouble. I can't imagine who they can mean. So the other thing that Mac's article goes into, it's really kind of the meat of it, is, because of all the nonsense coming from Team Obama and Team Clinton about, the Russians and whatnot, trying to have total fabricated nonsense. The ends justify the means, anything to win a race. That we may end up very well having this election chaperoned by the Department of Homeland Security, which, I might add, a federal judge accused Obama of using DHS as his own personal army. And Jay Johnson has been very public and very clear about his disdain for Trump. So how they're going to maintain election integrity with those two ass clowns chaperoning anything, just goes to show you, I think that every American in the country could vote for Trump, and we're going to see a Clinton win. I think we all know that. And perhaps we best start bracing ourselves for it. After that, I include an article from Underground News. It's basically just some video and pictures from Dabu 7. And very interesting video footage of what appears to be a staging ground for UN troops in Maryland. And it's actually at a Kellogg's factory. And what's so different from this video compared to all the other UN videos that we've seen, or snapshots, is you always see trucks that are on flatbeds, or so the fact-checking sites have always been able to explain that away by saying, or to try to, they don't do a very good job of it, by saying that, oh, you stupid conspiracy theorists, they're on their way to a port city and they're being shipped overseas. And that's pretty much been their shtick, right? And that was nonsense. Anybody who researched that a little bit, BAE is the company that produces UN vehicles. So eventually somebody just called them and said, are these your trucks? Where are you sending them? And they said, they're not our trucks. We haven't produced anything that's going overseas. So that should have been indication number one that they're here. They're freaking everywhere. I've heard numbers in excess of 300,000. I don't know if that's true or not, but it certainly would take an awful lot of them to go for a gun grab. So, not to mention they've had a job posting up for people specifically for that job, for the gun grab job of United States citizens since 2014. That's still active on the UN website, I might add. So I would imagine they got quite a few people here. And what's crazy is you've got, it doesn't matter who wins. Either way, I don't see, I love these people that say that there's, martial law can never happen here. And you're basing that on what? Because it sure as hell isn't facts. Like I said, I'm going to include roughly 15, 17, 18, I don't know, hundreds of pages of documents that anybody who reads them can never make a statement that's stupid to say that it couldn't happen here. It's more likely than not. And the reason is very simple. If Trump wins, the left is going to go full on bat you know what. It's going to be Baltimore all over again, Ferguson all over again. How do we know that? Because they promised us. We don't even have to infer it. They've told us flat out. Black Lives Matter has said that they are going to cause the largest civil disobedience this country has ever seen with the intent of forcing martial law. That's not my words, that's theirs. What, do we have any reason to doubt them? Have they not lived up to their expectations any other time? And what's so crazy about that, all right, they say that they're going to do that if Trump wins, they're the big losers, most likely. And that's what's so sad, is trying to convince the Black Lives Matter group that they're being used as pawns by Soros. Because ultimately, at some point, when cities are burning, Trump would have to call in the National Guard, and then what happens? You get the people that are burning the city down in a shootout with the government troops. It makes no sense, but you need to do a lot of things, and that's a very likely scenario. It should Trump win. I've got every reason to believe that they'll do that. Just again, based on what we've seen over what they'll do for criminals. If Hillary wins, I expect we're going to see a very different right than we've seen probably in my lifetime. Trump supporters have been spit on, assaulted, called every name in the book, and basically had to just sit there and bite their tongue the whole time because they know that if Trump supporters the media's he'll have no chance. So, as a result of that, I think the left has begun to think and they can just walk all over the right. And they forget that, a lot of these people are concealed gun-carrying people that are not going to be treated that way. And if the election is stolen from Trump, they got nothing to lose, which is a very scary thought. Mike Adams from Natural News said something that was, I thought, spot on. He says that, things are so fragile right now that we're at this tipping point, and the only thing that's holding it back is this massive revolt, is the election, and that there's a glimmer of hope that Trump will get in. Because let's face it, okay, there is no way in hell Hillary Clinton can win this election fair and square. I mean, every city Trump goes to, he sells out an arena. Every high school Hillary goes to, she can't even fill a gym. There's no question. This whole thing is rigged. And he said people are going to lose it when she wins, which is, why they're trying to involve Jay Johnson. So, after I actually include some video of Jay Johnson and, what some other members of law enforcement are saying about that as far as, being chaperones, which is rather interesting. There's a gentleman by the name of Admiral Rogers. He says that we need to look at our election process as part of critical infrastructure. So what do we got, guys with M16s will have to stay in an interview while you vote? I don't know. Skeptics, out there who don't think the UN's here to do us harm or to do us ill, I would have you just be reminded that there's absolute 100% confirmation by zillions of pictures that people have caught of them being here. Last summer, they were constantly being caught covering up their decals. Again, lots of picture and video of that. So, and again, if you read some of those documents that I will include links to, you will see that we've given them permission to be here. Not only do they have permission to be here, just this past August, I think, a couple months ago, our Pentagon gave them permission to use lethal force on U.S. citizens. Go figure. So, I don't know. If you do not have a plan in folks' place for when this goes down, because again, it doesn't matter there's no way this ends well, this election, period, without somebody going Looney Tunes. And if you do not have a plan, odds are you're going to end up in Camp FEMA, because that's where they're going to be putting people when they declare martial law. And they're going to have to declare martial law because it's going to be the only way to stop the chaos. I mean, ask yourself, when you see the footage of Dabu 7, of this staging ground, and you see the armed vehicles, you see these giant fuel tankers, you see medvacs, you see other types of utility wagons, you see giant shipping. It's all there for something, folks. And it's being delivered. Yes, it's not rocket science. Again, for the people who say martial law can't happen here, you're just nuts. You just don't know the facts. And I'm gonna give them to you in this post, and I encourage you to read them, because Camp FEMA is not the place you want to be. I do include a video of what is most likely will end up being a FEMA camp. Some folks thought they were real clever, and Google Earth didn't say, this is a shutdown federal minimum security prison. Okay, yeah, I know. I'm well aware of that. Read U.S. Army Regulation Manual 210-35. I include that in my links. It's actually the manual for the Civilian Inmate Labor Program. And it says very specifically that the installation commanders of FEMA camps, one of their jobs is to negotiate with prisons, with penal facilities, for what they're going to take over as FEMA camps. And it has to be on federal land. Ding, 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 got a winner there. And it's already a prison. So these people that thought they were smart, that's an old federal prison. Yeah, exactly. Do you know how long it's going to take to bring that operational? I don't, but again, the manuals, they lay out the process and the procedures, and people think they're safe, and they're just not. So finally, I conclude, after you've seen the footage of what Dabu found, and read about what the soldier says that they're going to be doing, just remind everybody with the simple fact that our government has given the UN the green light to fire on U.S. citizens if they need to. If there's armed conflict is the way it's termed. But who defines what is armed conflict? Is two men with guns? That's an armed conflict as far as I'm concerned. So scary, scary, scary stuff, folks. We got 25 days until election. Hug your babies tight. Tell people you care about how much you care about them, and make sure that you are doing something to prepare, because there is no supermarket trips when martial law is in place. There's confiscation of firearms and your supplies. There's curfews. There is no civil rights anymore. The Constitution gets suspended. So does habeas corpus. There's no more courts. Everything's done by military tribunal. And again, if you think it can't happen, I would ask you, how do you see it not happening? If you had Baltimore and Ferguson in every major city in the country, how do you think he stopped that? You just think he asked nicely? So, we're a powder keg waiting to go off, folks. Check out some of these videos. There's a ton to learn in this post through the links. So, with that, voice of reason out.